When I was 11 or 12 years old, I really wanted to become a game developer. In my countless hours on YouTube, I have seen videos of people making their own games. And little me thought, I can do that. I honestly don't remember why or how I chose the game engine I did. But I do know that I ended up installing Unity on our family PC. I remember starting Unity for the first time and was greeted with this offer for a YouTube tutorial. I gladly took that offer, because I didn't know anything about programming, or game design, or sound design, or anything like that. I just liked playing games. So I started watching the first part of the tutorial series. The game that I would have made at the end was a very simple game. I've actually rebuilt the visuals from the game in Unity to show you. It's a 3D game where you play as this ball. You start in the middle of this box and the goal is to collect these weird cubes around you. And that's it. There were no levels, no camera movement, nothing. I remember working through the first 7 to 10 minutes of the first video. Always watching a couple of seconds of the video, then pausing, switching over to Unity, copying the one step the guy in the video did, then switching back to the video, watching another 3 seconds, pausing, and then switching back to Unity. Yeah, it was really exhausting. But I didn't know any other way to follow the tutorial. Because not only have I never programmed anything before when I was 12 years old, I have never really interacted with a PC before. After I had worked for a good bit of the video, my mom called me because dinner was ready. So I saved my progress and shut down the PC. I honestly don't know if I've worked on the project ever again. I don't have a lot of memory of that time. But I do remember one more thing. I know that during that time I really wanted to play Minecraft. I was watching videos on YouTube and I loved that game. But I grew up with Nintendo, so I had no way of playing it. I remember playing some knockoff games, but none of them even came close to Minecraft. Then I remember starting Unity again to continue developing my game. I remember accessing a menu that was somewhere inside Unity. I don't know if it was the Unity hub or how I ended up on that menu, but I definitely remember that there were games to download within Unity. I think that these games were meant for educational purposes. The idea being, you download a game, play it, and then access the code to see how all of that works. I don't remember any game specifically, except for one. One of them was a 3D survival game, just like Minecraft. So, because I didn't know anything about computers, I asked my father if he could install that game for me. I told him that I would use that game to learn more about game development. But honestly, I just wanted to play Minecraft. So my father and I sat in front of our family computer and he clicked install. We waited and watched the progress bar slowly grow. Then something strange happened. The bar filled the bracket, but it kept growing. The bar grew far beyond the bracket. Both me and my father were a little confused. And then suddenly, an error popped up. My father closed it, and it instantly came back. He closed it again, and it came back again. My father instantly tried to access the task manager to shut that program down. He pressed Ctrl-Alt-Delete, but even that was interrupted with an error. My father didn't hesitate and instantly shut down the PC. He turned it back on, and before logging in he clicked on the Wi-Fi icon on the lock screen and turned the Wi-Fi off to disable all potential downloads. Then he logged back in and the PC was usable again. My father, slightly intimidated by that, asked me if he could uninstall Unity, thinking that Unity caused all that. And I, even more intimidated than my father, didn't hesitate to say yes. Looking back on it, I don't know if that was a virus, but I also can't prove it wasn't. I don't even know if that was the real Unity I had installed. Maybe it was some fake version. Because it doesn't really make sense that Unity, one of the most popular game engines in the world, would infect my PC. Anyway, that incident led to me quitting game development. Until November of 2021, when the fire inside me got relit again. I don't exactly know why, but I think that happened after I stumbled across Danny, one of the biggest game developers on YouTube. His videos were so entertaining and so inspiring that I wanted to become a game developer again. So I did some research to find the best game engine for me. and I ended up deciding between GameMaker Studio and Unity. I really wanted to avoid Unity due to my childhood trauma. But Danny was also using Unity, and it seemed like a very popular engine. And because Unity supported both 2D and 3D games, while GameMaker only supported 2D games, I eventually decided that Unity would be the way to go. But I also knew for sure that I would never ever download anything from the marketplace. I would do everything myself. I was far too paranoid regarding any downloads. And then, on a random weekend in November of 2021, I started and finished making my first game by following Brecky's beginner game dev course. It was a very simple runner game and had 3 levels. I remember my friends being mind blown by my game. Not really because it was fun or good. They were just fascinated by playing a game I made. That made me very proud. Anyway, I continued creating more and more games over the years, making 6 games in total in 2 years. I would like to show you my games, but that would be too much for this video. If you want to see the games, let me know in the comments. Anyway, after I had finished game number 6 in fall of 2023, I kinda lost track of that whole game dev thing. Sometime in the beginning of 2025, I decided that I want to start making games again. But I didn't want to go back to Unity. I decided that I want to learn a new engine. This time I chose the Unreal Engine. This choice was again highly influenced by yet another game developer on YouTube called Lixian, especially since he had switched from Unity to Unreal himself. By the way, I have linked to all the YouTube channels I have mentioned in this video in the description. Make sure to check them out. So in early 2025, I installed the Unreal Engine, booted up a blank project, and quickly realized that my PC was nowhere near powerful enough to run even a blank Unreal project. When I say my PC, I actually mean my laptop. I don't own a desktop PC. Why? Well, so for now I'm stuck on my laptop with 16GB of RAM, an Intel Iris Xi GPU and an Intel i7 CPU. Everyone who is familiar with PC specs knows I'm not running Unreal with that setup anytime soon. So I quit Unreal, but I'm very eager to come back to it in the future. And after uninstalling the Unreal Engine, my dream of becoming a game developer faded once again. Until recently, when I bought something off the internet. 9 Raspberry Pis. See, I thought a lot about why it's so hard for me to get back into game development. And I have come to the conclusion that I never really learned to work well with Unity. It always felt so difficult to make a game. That's also the reason why I wanted to try Unreal, hoping that it would get easier or more fun. Also, Unity felt so overwhelming. There were so many possibilities and so much freedom that I got demotivated. Because I knew what was possible, I almost felt bad making such terrible games with it. Because spoiler, all 6 games I made were terrible. And that's where the Raspberries come into play. I heard about Pico 8. If you don't know what that is, that's basically a very limited and very small game engine. But Pico 8 costs money. And I then started to look for other game engines that followed the same idea. The plan I had was the following. What if I built myself a setup only for game development, with one of these simple engines on one of my Raspberry Pis? That way I wouldn't be overwhelmed by the features of the engine and could slowly get used to the process of making games again. Now I just need to decide which one of these I wanna learn. What do you think? Which one should I choose? Anyway, once I have made a decision, I plan on making some devlogs in the future, if you guys and girls are interested in that. If you don't want to miss out on that, feel free to subscribe. That's everything for now. Thank you so much for watching to the end. I really appreciate it. Until we meet again, bye bye.